Review on Press Review this morning, we've been joined by Chuka Uzezie, Public Affairs Analyst. Good to have you in the studio, Chuka.
Maya, good morning, and viewers, welcome, and please do stay with us.
All right, we begin the Press Review this morning with a look at some of the stories making the headlines on ABS website. Let's see stories making their headlines on ABS website. August meeting, Mrs. Soludo tasked women on proper child upbringing. Police nab man 56 for defiling 11-year-old daughter. Anambra State Assembly calls for arrest of motorists using artificial headlamps. Mrs. Soludo interacts with wives of Anambra traditional rulers. All right, this is the much we have in front of, on ABS website. And Chuka, I'm interested in this arrest of motorists using artificial headlamps because I'm once a victim. You know, coming to work very early, all the way from, I drove from Asaba that morning. So at Abagana or so, at Omonachi, we saw a very big lorry, and the light was very big light. So we thought the vehicle was coming in the opposite direction, not knowing that that light was put at the back. You know, so we were confused when we got closer. And now they are trying to arrest, because I saw one again this week. So I was like, you know, FRSC or people that are in charge of motorists, what actually are they doing? But this news gladdened me this morning.
I think it's a good one, especially because by design, most automakers, you know, always test the luminosity of most of these lights. And the angle of the projection is always in such a way that it doesn't affect oncoming vehicles, because every windshield has its own refractory, properties. So when they now mount all these artificial and extra light halogen lamps, they are angling their projection, trajectory is always in such a way that it goes directly,
And some oncoming vehicles will be blinded while
misinterpret it will affect, their, even long after you have encountered them, maybe early in the morning or late in the night. So it's a good thing, because it's all boiled down, it all boils down to road safety. So I think it's a good one, and most times you'll find that people who are, who fought this is all these big vehicles.
Big lorries. There are ones they put
at the top.
It's
everywhere.
It will be like 6.
So many. So in fact, some people will even have some behind their back. If you are following
that's the one I'm telling you. The light
so,
it was like headlamp at the back of it's tipper. It's a tipper lorry at the back. So we were following behind. We thought the vehicle was coming on the opposite direction, only for us to notice that the vehicle is actually in front of us.
So I think it's a good one, and then that will, if your vehicle light is having problem, you do well to go and fix the exact specification made by the automaker, because all these things are tested.
In fact, God will bless this state assembly person that raised the issue in the first place.
They should do well and fast track the implementation. Okay. That's all. Then, if I think I will go on and look at other headlines.
Soludo on Mrs. Soludo on proper child bringing, and again, I think we join it with police nabbing a man 56
because
for filing 11-year-old daughter.
It all boils down to family issues. So parenting is still not just a task for women; it's that of everybody, and whether you like it or not. Child abuse, child molestation is not something that just happened. People who are left, and most times, there's a mistake we normally make, that we believe that it is only the male gender that molests the female. This molestation in the world of today goes both ways. The only difference is that most times men rarely come out to speak out on their experiences because
well, some of them, like this morning as I was coming to work, I was listening to a news. You know, there's this story of a young boy. I think this happened in Lagos. He lured, the boy is 40, the young man is 40, lured a 3-year-old into his room. And the mother started calling the child, only for the child to run out from the room with blood stains. 3-year-old, you can imagine.
So that's what I'm saying now, because that of a female child or girl child will be more obvious than that of a girl. So whichever way it goes, it should be frowned at. And then everybody should be, and most times people who engage in this are people who are closely related with the victim.
But Chuka, does it really matter to you that this is becoming so rampant?
Why won't it be?
You know, and you begin to ask the mental health.
It's not just mental health.
Involved.
If you look at the electronic media, you look at the print media, the whole place is awash with mind-twisting material. Okay. Pornography is obvious in almost everything. If you look at the trend now, the Western world trying to, force LGBT, mentality,
cultural imperialism. They want
on Africans. So if you look at most of these things, you find out they're using sexuality and to almost market every product. You see people marketing orange juice. If they don't have a half-naked woman on it or lady,
even in Oka here, a banner down there, talking about their pool party and whatever, what have you, and stuff like that.
People selling property, and so I think it's just like what I was saying before. Parents should find innovative, engaging ways, because the menace cannot stop unless we catch them young, empower the children by availing to them materials that will make them morally, ethically, and culturally strong. Engage them in positive reading, especially now we're in holidays. Children should leave more of this television unless they are under control. Is a control. If not, they should go into other games and activities that give them skills, like Ludo, all those physical games, normal, interactive, that develops them mentally better than just, media.
All right, let's go to the first paper for review, the Daily Sun newspapers. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of the Daily Sun. APC probes Adamu, others as Ganduje emerge new chair. With riders there, ex-Kano governor vows to lead party with integrity, transparency, responsibility. National Working Committee members frown at selection of same faith for chairman, secretary. Tinubu task APC leaders on good governance. Why we shun second Niger bridge? Drivers speaking. Enugu-Onitsha Expressway blocked as revenue collectors stab truck driver to death. NLC threatens nationwide strike over FG's contempt of court charges. Troops kill 36 terrorists, arrest 163 criminals, destroy 36 illegal refining sites. Nigerian military yet to receive order for intervention in Niger. DHQ speaking says deployment of troops fake news. 2023 WASC results, 1.6 million candidates no fate next week. Pantami's appointment, stop persecuting our members, ASU cautions Futo VC. Refineries reps to revisit alleged 11.3 trillion naira spent on turnaround maintenance. And Nigeria article cautions against military engagement. Before we talk about any issue on Daily Sun, let's quickly look at the New National Star again. Tinubu orders audit of APC accounts under Adamu as Ganduje Basiru emerge APC national chairman and secretary. FG dispatches Sultan Abdulsalami to Niger Republic to avert military action. And we also have other stories in front of that paper. CNPP kicks against war option in Niger, says labor unions vindicated us. Over 500 directors of MDAs to proceed on compulsory retirement. Enugu Assembly confirms Ekweremadu Chime's children as commissioners. Wike ran to APC to salvage dwindling political fortune, says Rivers stakeholders. FG delists another 18 digital money lenders. Lagos government probes death of medical doctor in hospital elevator. All right. I don't know if we will look at the Niger coup because it appears in both papers.
Definitely, I know that will be the concern of most African leaders at this point, especially those who found their way in, not so legitimate, ways. While the leadership of ECOWAS might favor a military intervention, I think it's wise of Nigerian government to, initiate a more, diplomatic approach by sending a seasoned leaders like the Sultan and Abdul Salam, who had been a military man and also, at the presidency of the country. Well, it is a lesson for the leadership of Africa because a lot of issues came up with this insurrection or takeover of governance in Niger Republic. There are so many dynamics because if you look at the reaction of the populace to this takeover, you find out that it's as if it's a popular, action. The people are suffering under the leadership while some other economies and individuals are benefiting from the well-endowed mineral resources of the country. So, and the same thing is still repeating itself everywhere. Like in Nigeria, I think the fear of the leadership of Nigeria is that what happened in Niger might repeat in Nigeria or other West African countries. The people in the midst of plenty of natural resources, human resources, people find it difficult to feed, to, like our president will say, to breathe. People can't even breathe. We have now, even on the same paper, we have illegal refineries being shut down. It is illegal because maybe they have no license, they are polluting the environment while they are doing it, and of course government is not benefiting directly from it. But I'll tell you, their products are cheaper, and the people around that community are benefiting directly from it. If not, it won't go on. I don't know whether you're getting me. So now, but on the other hand, some individuals in the country are monopolizing these resources, exploiting them in conjunction with other foreign players. And the whole money is not coming back in any way to help the ordinary masses. So why wouldn't people intervene? Because people don't have the power. If the people have the willpower to rise up against government in Nigeria, they would have done that.
All right, quickly, let's move on to the Punch. We take the Punch and the Daily Independent together. All right, the Punch newspaper first. Subsidy protest. FG labor talks collapse. NLC begins strike August 14. Why labor made a U-turn agreement reached with Tinubu on subsidy removal. MAN LCCI demand more palliatives from federal government. NLC gives reasons for ending protests. And Niger, Tinubu woes Libya, Algeria against junta. FG begins no work, no pay for striking doctors. New public service rules may force out 512 directors. PDP LP mock APC as NEC ratifies Ganduje party chair. NNPCL, NIPCO begin deployment of auto gas stations. Delta government indicts Lagos hospital over doctor's death in elevator. Now, father of siblings killed by collapsed hotel fence demands justice. Now, on Daily Independent newspaper, we have these stories. Again, Tinubu says 2023 polls remain most credible in Nigeria, with riders there. Okay, rider dispatches Abdulsalami Sultan to Niamey over Niger coup. Gandhi new APC national chair. Okay, that's it. Growth of APC in Rivers not linked to Wike. Allegations of fraud. NUPRC absolves Komolafe of any wrongdoing. Pandemonium as kidnappers abduct 5 persons within 48 hours in Edo. Fund suspend taxi services at Abuja Airport. NNPC begins massive deployment of natural gas as alternative fuel. We've not received order to intervene in Niger Republic. All right. In front of that, I think, do we look at the APC chairmanship and secretary, election that saw Ganduje as the chairman?
You see,
and, of course,
if you just oppose that, even with the position of the president that this election that brought in him is the most credible. Who will now believe whatever their intentions are for Nigerians and even for their party. Even a lot of video clips are watched in the media of the purported bribe-taking of the Gandola saga. And I think APC is without shame for electing such a person to that position. It means that the renewed hope mantra they came with this time around.
But Chuka,
we offer
you don't have
different.
to be surprised. Can't you see what is going on in the ministerial nominees screening? We saw somebody with 2 credits and was asked, how did you go to university? And he gave them the answer he gave them. They asked him to take a bow and to bring other papers much later. And so many other things. There was a report against former governor of Kaduna State. And the report was swept under carpet and he was screened and allowed to go. So what do you expect? That's
the impunity we're talking about. Now, for them, the masses are emasculated against reacting to such impunity and rascality, because it means that merit is not the basis for all these selections or whatever. So the people already knew that those at the leadership position up there are not there in the best interest of the masses. It's obvious. Even those in APC, if you really look at the rhetorics of some members of APC, you know that all is not well with the membership or their faith in the leadership of the party, with all the struggles that was there before this election, the Shitai syndrome of almost everybody there. And now that it has changed, they are even removing anybody who will give them opposition or who will, speak truth to power within the, party there. So Nigerians are not expecting anything better.
And look at, I think in the course of that election of Ganduje as new APC national chairman, their national legal advisor has resigned, and they say Nigerians happy with Tinubu's policies.
Yeah.
And
that is their own personal opinion. Because if you look at it now, even not looking at the sentiment of the country, already it's true that not much came out of the same fate, position of both the president and the vice president. Okay, maybe that was changed by maybe the Senate president being a Christian. Now, within their party, what's the sentiment? Already, you find out that if you look at everything they're doing, already Southeast has been excluded from everything going on in both in the country and in the APC party. So it seems as if this government is even preparing for more segregation within the economy.
Okay, let's look at the Nation newspaper now. That's the next paper in our lineup. The Nation newspaper. Ganduje pledges reform, fairness to reposition APC. We have riders there. Former Governor Senator Bashiru stepping. Tinubu, let's fulfill our promises. National Working Committee gets flat to fill 6 vacant posts. Okay, Fiat, sorry. Tinubu sent Abdusalami Sultan. We've seen that. NSA probes another vessel held with stolen crude with a rider, suspected military boat escorting ship. NIPCO to deploy 35 CNG stations. Oil gas free trade zones attract $16 billion investment. And still in front of the Nation newspaper, we have Pencom's assets hits 16 trillion naira, Delta to buy electric buses. All right, quickly, the Guardian newspaper is next. Let's see stories in front of the Guardian. Nigeria's political dynasties wax stronger as poverty deepens. Contempt charge, NLC threatens strike if summons is not withdrawn. Forex challenges, high OPEX force GSK's exit from Nigeria. Now Biden calls for immediate release of Bazoum, orders officials out of Niger. Why average Nigerians can't afford new vehicles? The coup in Niger, military option unrealistic. Okay, that's the much way in front of the Guardian newspapers. I don't know. Political analysis.
The NLC strike, because have been, repeated on most of the previous papers. Yeah. I think this government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not putting his act together. They are towing the line of his predecessor. And I believe this time around, if ever they allow NLC to go on strike, because one of the conditions they gave them also was paying the backlog of ASU membership salaries that were owing to that 8 months because of the strike, which they have covered the grounds. And because they say, federal government said no work, no pay. Now they've done the work, why not pay them the backlog? Although the money to be paid must have lost over 60% of its value by the time they're getting there. So it's still a huge loss to them. Now NLC is talking about what palliatives have government put in place before removal of this subsidy. And they entered into talks with government to see how they can ameliorate the impact of this removal of subsidy, so-called subsidy, on the lives of the Nigerians. Because federal government itself hastily came up with distribution of 8,000 to the poorest of the poor, which everybody shouted, and they withdrew that because definitely they would have, filtered the money down the drains of few individuals. Now, they are in touch with, why not enter into this talk, continue with this talk with NLC to find genuine ways. And this would have been through subsidized mass transportation. That would have been one of the easiest means. Because once the cost of transportation, especially of food items and then workers, is in place, you find that it will control prices. And then what is their plan to get refineries or refining of these products in Nigeria? Because it's not just refining to get finished products like petroleum products, PMS and diesel, but also other byproducts of crude oil refined will make other allied petrochemical products available. This will create millions of jobs and reduce the cost of most things being imported and save the dollar, our reserves. So these are things we want to hear, people want to hear. And definitely we bring in the needed foreign funds needed for investment, FDIs. So, but there's no such plan. Why talk about the removal? Because the talk about the removal alone is going to, it costs a lot of FDIs to be withdrawn. Already, Dangote has pulled out more than, I think, 60% of his investment from Nigeria.
Okay. Okay, let's go on. Let's move on to other papers because we still have 2 more papers to go. Let's see the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's look at stories making their headlines in front of the Daily Trust newspaper. Now, don't invade Niger. Prominent Nigerians tell Tinubu with riders ask ECOWAS to consider diplomacy, sanctions. Fear in North over mass influx of refugees. Military action, last option. Defense headquarters speaking. Abdulsalami Sultan meet coup leaders as Tinubu's emissaries. Diphtheria kills 122 children in 7 months. That's the report coming from the UNICEF. Court remands husband for attempting to cut wife's breasts. NLC threatens another strike over FG's contempt charges. And how Ganduje emerged APC chairman. Disco's revenue dip as foreign companies fail to pay $16.11 million per debt in first quarter. Troops nab dismissed soldiers supplying plateau militias arms. Tinubu's wife visits Buhari in Daura. Okay, that's the much we have in front of the Daily Trust. All right, let's look at the Daily Trust before we take the other paper.
In fact, I will join the voices of many
Nigerians
to ask Tinubu to go and invade Niger. We cannot control the activities of terrorists in Nigeria and kidnappers all over the place. And we want to go and face another country. Let them go and invade. So if they can truly and successfully invade Niger, then it means that it's the government that has been sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. That is the truth. So if they have the confidence that they can go into another country and take over their country from their military. And remember, when we had issues with cross-border terrorism, other countries were able to manage Boko Haram out of their territories, while Nigeria cannot manage. And now they want to go into another country to take over governance from their military. If Nigeria can really have the confidence to do that, then I'm suspecting that both our leadership and our military have a hand in what is going on in terrorism in Nigeria.
Has been going
if they have that confidence to repeat that statement again, then it's obvious that it is the Nigerian military and Nigerian presidency that has been sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria.
All right, quickly, the last paper but not the least, the Nigerian Tribune. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of the Nigerian Tribune. Many injured, property destroyed as thugs attack APC members in Ekiti. Nominations open for 2023 Obafemi Awolowo Leadership Prize. Waiting game in APC as Ganduje Basiru emerged National Chairman Secretary. Kyari, Edu, Lukman's positions up for grabs. PDP mocks party over Ganduje's appointment. My administration didn't receive 200 billion naira from UBEC. That's Okowa speaking. Oyo workers continue secretariat blockade with riders there. Agitation unfair. Don't get violent. Government cautions. Reps to revisit 11.3 trillion naira allegedly spent on turnaround maintenance. NLC threatens strike if FG fails to withdraw lawsuit. Sultan Abdulsalami meets Niger coup leaders. Okay, we've seen that story before. Security agents intercept ship with suspected stolen crude in Delta. Okay, that's the march in front of the Nigerian Tribune. A lot of stories there. I don't know which one you'll be looking into.
Look at the issue of stolen crude. I think last 2 weeks there was this incident of a vessel with stolen crude. Up till now, the news about it. That's why even up to till date, I find out most of the news we see on most of the print media
is government regulated. What have come out of that, incident? Now, I assure you that
who are the culprits? Who are the people?
How will I know?
Vessel? That's
so you will just get we've heard about this one that the vessel have even a military boat as escort. This is the last we are going to hear about this, because if they don't mention it initially, maybe people will, because Nigerians are so troubled with their daily challenges that we don't have the time to follow up incidences. So we just hear about it, we forget about it, because your physiological challenges, your housing, your clothing, children, taking care of the children, feeding and all whatnot, so much take the time
also, even when you remember about it, it's not the first time it is happening.
Yeah.
And what happened to the other ones or the other stories we had, even the vessel that we saw after a few days they said it was burnt and all whatnot.
In better climes, let me tell you something. In better climes, NLC can insist that if federal government will not immediately come out with a white paper, complete investigation and white paper on what happened, that an immediate reversal on the oil pricing regime should be back in place. Because if not for the connivance of state actors, such story cannot just fizzle out from the news.
Just like that.
Already, people have mentioned that the oil theft that has been going on for the past 8 years plus is in collaboration with the military and top state actors.
And they've not come out
nobody
with
has said anything
about that.
it. And now we just went on ahead and now strangulated the remaining 200 and something million people. Because you are comfortable with your take or what you are taking from the coffer. So is that bad? And again, on the issue of NLC asking federal government to withdraw their their lawsuit, for me, let them go to court. Let the court make its pronouncement. NLC should not obey that pronouncement until the federal government must have obeyed all previous court pronouncements. Because this government, like they said, is based on rule of law. So let government is a continuum. Let government obey all existing court orders.
Okay, I don't know. Let's look at this issue of allegedly, and I did not receive. The kind of amounts being called on papers. I don't know how true, if that is real, in real cash or real fund. Okowa is saying that he did not receive 200 billion naira from UBEC. Then reps to revisit 11.3 trillion naira allegedly spent on turnaround maintenance. All this money, from what we are saying, these are funds not accounted for. There's no accountability in this nation. Nobody to hold, and prosecute when issues like this arise.
When the late Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, said that Nigeria is fantastically corrupt, and nobody kicked against it, at least in Nigerian diplomatic circle. They have seen this graft, they have seen this rot of corruption in Nigeria. That if you bring out any amount of money for any project in Nigeria, that not up to 10% of that fund will get to that work. The rest will disappear in bureaucratic bottlenecks and all manner of. So Nigeria is so damn corrupt that at this point, it needs a drastic surgery. And that is what this present government or this leadership under the circumstances cannot achieve. The people need to take over leadership again. And that is why everybody is still waiting on the tribunal to come up with pronouncement, because like they said that the judiciary is the hope of the common man, the last hope. And if they dash that hope now, then we know that Nigeria will definitely go the way of either Nigeria or will come up, because Nigeria, if Nigeria goes that way, then it becomes a very big problem, not just for the whole of Africa, but for the whole world.
All right. We can go on and on, but I think that's the much time could allow us to take on the press review this morning. A lot of stories making their headlines in front of our national dailies, and of course, ABS website. Would like to appreciate you so much, Choka Uzeze, for being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, and viewers do have a wonderful weekend.
All right, that's it on the press review. Until some other time, remember, we have more on Good Morning Anambra Show. Do stay.